this module, we're covering the introduction to the course. I will be speaking about the need to belong. We know that the need to belong is a fundamental human motivation, and this is part of what your book tells you as well. But what does that mean? Well, the need to belong is a powerful drive to establish close connections to others. People suffer mentally and physically without having close relationships. They need some minimum number of ongoing ties that last for the long term. So you may still be friends with people from high school, but if you don't see them anymore, then chances are they're not really filling your need to belong anymore. Or you may see your Starbucks barista every single day, but because it's not a close relationship, they're not really filling your need to belong. So to fill your need to belong, you need to have at least some minimum number of close relationships that are affectively positive or at least benevolent and that last for the long term. Now, some people argue that they don't need close relationships and that they themselves are happy without having close others. There was research that was done examining this possibility. We'll talk about attachment a lot more in future points in the semester, but your book gives you a brief introduction to attachment in chapter 1. And the general idea here is that people who are relatively more secure end up feeling like they are worthy of love and they feel like other people are trustworthy. People who are more anxiously attached end up worrying about rejection. They feel like maybe they're not good enough. And people who are more avoidantly attached end up worrying that other people are not trustworthy. And so many times, more avoidantly attached people will say that they don't need close others. Deep down, they really do need them, but they are defensive and they're scared to some extent. Your book discusses how attachment styles are derived from early childhood experiences with caregivers. So in this study, No Man is an Island, the authors focused on this idea that more avoidantly attached people say they don't need close relationships and that they're just fine without them. And so to begin with, they come into the study and they complete background questionnaires that indicate their attachment style. Then they're told that they're going to be working with other participants in the study today, and they're asked to rank order who they would most like to work with based on descriptions of other people that are supposedly there. But in reality, there aren't any other participants there. After they do this ranking, then they get to read the feedback from the other participants. In one condition, the target participant learns that everyone else wants to work with them. They receive the highest rating. And in the control condition, they aren't given any feedback. Then the experimenters assessed their state self-esteem. What would we expect to see here? If we're talking about people who are high in dismissing attachment, they say they don't need other people. Well, obviously, I'm telling you about this study for a reason. So what we're actually going to find is that participants who are led to feel accepted by other participants in the study are going to be happier and they're going to have higher state self-esteem. But is that the case more strongly for participants who are low in dismissing attachment, or is that the case more strongly for participants who are high in dismissing attachment? Well, what we find is among those who are relatively low in dismissing attachment, there's actually a little bit of a decrease in positive mood, probably not significant. But among those high in dismissing attachment, we can see that there's an increase in positive mood following acceptance. So even though these people say that they don't need to feel close to other people, they don't need close relationships, they still like it when people are accepting of them. We see a similar result for state self-esteem. When they are relatively low in dismissing attachment, they're not necessarily affected by the acceptance feedback, or they're maybe even negatively affected. But among people who are high in dismissing attachment, hearing that other people wanted to work with them led to an increase in state self-esteem. So you can see the blue bars there are the participants in the control condition, and the orange bars are participants in the acceptance condition. And you can see higher numbers here mean good things because we're looking at positive mood and state self-esteem. And so you can see among high dismissing participants, the blue line is shorter than the orange line. That orange line is higher, meaning better outcomes. And again, that orange line is participants who have been accepted by the other participants in the study. They also conducted a second study in this same paper, again, trying to look at this idea that people who are high in dismissing attachment actually do want close relationships. And so in this study, they were given a bogus personality test. They completed a test and then they were given false feedback at the end. They were told that they were high in this trait, and then they're given different definitions of what the trait means. So in one condition, they're told that it means they're going to have future interpersonal success. In another condition, they're told that it means that they're going to have future individual success. And then in another condition, they aren't given any information. And so then again, they were assessed for positive mood and state self-liking or self-esteem. So just very quickly, we'll read through the feedback that they were given. The things that change from one condition to another are highlighted in yellow. So first, this is the future interpersonal success feedback. And they're told, a new study conducted at Washington University in St. Louis shows how an individual's future interpersonal success can be predicted by measuring how high or low they are on surgency. An individual's level of surgency, for example, can tell us how they will generally fare in interpersonal relationships. A person who scores high on surgency will often have lots of friends and long-lasting, fulfilling romantic relationships. It does not, however, tell us how they will do independently. We cannot measure surgency to predict future professional accomplishments. A person who scores high on surgency will experience fulfilling relationships, but he or she may or not be an accomplished individual. The feedback for individual success is very similar, but you can see that there are differences highlighted in yellow. A new study conducted at Washington University in St. Louis shows how an individual's future success can be predicted by measuring how high or low they are on surgency. An individual's level of surgency, for example, can tell us how they will generally perform in individual tasks. People who score high on surgency often accomplish a great deal, publish books, discover new things, or make contributions to whatever their professions are. It does not, however, tell us how they will function with others. We cannot measure surgency to predict who will have greater relationship satisfaction or interpersonal success. A person who is high on surgency will most likely become an accomplished individual, but he or she may or may not experience relationship satisfaction. Now remember, after they received this feedback, again, they reported on their positive mood and their state self-esteem. Here, instead of 2 bars for each group, we're going to have 3 bars because remember we had 3 conditions. One was the individual success condition, one is the interpersonal success condition or the relationship success, and then the final one is the control condition. In the control condition, they weren't given any feedback. And so what we see here for participants who are relatively low in dismissing attachment is that there's not really much of a difference across conditions. They're all in that same range for positive mood. And again, remember, higher bars here mean greater positive mood. Now, what do we expect for participants who are relatively high in dismissing attachment? Well, again, I'm showing you this because it is supposed to be evidence in favor of the need to belong. So we should see that people who are high in dismissing attachment actually appreciate receiving interpersonal success feedback. And indeed, that is what we see. So the orange bar here is significantly different from the other 2. After being told that they will have future relationship success, people who are high in dismissing attachment are happier. And then we see the same result for participants' ratings of state self-esteem. For low dismissing, there wasn't really much of anything. But for those who are high in dismissing, we see a clear increase again following interpersonal feedback. Together, these studies suggest that people generally do need others, even if they say they don't need them. One of the arguments that people have often used to say that the need to belong is not universal is this idea that people who are high in avoidant attachment don't need close relationships. But the truth is, they are just as happy and maybe even happier when they experience interpersonal success than people who are less avoidant. It's just that they have this defensive need to protect themselves from other people who may not be trustworthy. When we can circumvent their negative perceptions of other people and give them interpersonal feedback that is safe, then they show that they are happy to be in relationships just like everyone else.